Welcome
to Film Shapes,
the podcast.
The Queen is an extraordinary person.
They were all staring, weren't they? I can tell even if I can't see, and I heard the word fat, and ugly.
No.
Okay, good evening, guys. How are you? Roly, how are you?
It is evening.
It is.
For a change.
I'm discombobulated, like I said before. It's so strange to do this in the evening. Bryony's here too. Hi.
Hello.
How you going?
Very well, thank you.
And today we're going to talk about The Favourite. This is a period drama comedy set in the reign of Queen Anne of Great Britain in the early 1700s. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos and starring Olivia Colman, Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone, among others. Guys, what did you think? You saw it together?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. It wasn't my favourite, to be honest.
Of his films or of this year?
I was just making a bad pun. Sorry about that.
Flew right over my
I'll
head.
try it again. It wasn't my favourite, but
Fall back from the mic.
I had a bit of difficulty.
Yeah.
So I decided to write a list of the positives and negatives
Okay.
to this film.
Sure.
And I came up with, on the positive side, I liked the lighting. I thought it was really cool with the natural lighting, and some of the scenes were lit by candle, and I liked the cinematography. Mm-hmm. I thought the performances were really good, and I really liked the costumes.
Okay.
On the negative side is everything else, including the ending, and Elton John.
What? Where the fuck was Elton John?
He was in there. I think it might have just been the last credits roll.
As an actor?
No. His music.
Oh, he had a song at the end. Yeah. I didn't even notice that. Bryony, how about you?
I was in two minds about whether I liked it as well. I haven't quite decided yet.
When did you guys see this? Like 10 minutes ago or something?
It was the other night.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 or 3 days.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I liked lots of things about it. I don't know whether it was because I actually do like the odd period, either series or drama or,
All that
I grew up
dark
watching a
stuff
bit of
and-
Jane Austen's, Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice. Like, I love a good period drama. So I don't need it particularly spiced or punked up
Okay.
to entertain me. Whereas I can understand why there are some people in this world who just do not dig them.
As a traditional period drama, you mean?
Yeah, that they find them dull and boring, and the language inaccessible, and so I can understand where this would make it, a bit spicier.
I see. Yeah. So they've done a sort of little indie film version of a period drama.
And that's where I'm undecided. Like, I think it was just a bit different. So I haven't quite decided yet if I liked it or not.
Have you guys seen any other Lanthimos films? The Lobster.
We've seen The Lobster.
I fell asleep in The Lobster.
Okay. I watched Dogtooth after I saw this, and boy, that's nuts. That's weird.
Yeah,
This is a traditional film compared to Dogtooth and compared to The Lobster. So I don't know. I think I really liked it much more than you guys. I think. Yeah.
So, I mean, we should mention it's a historical drama, isn't it? Taken from the Diaries of Sarah, the
Sarah Churchill, Lady Marlborough.
from her memoirs.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of liberties taken with the history here, isn't there?
As in many films, I guess. Yeah, but I've made a list of a few of those actually.
It is a recurring thing. It's been on a few, and we often discuss this. How, from Bohemian Rhapsody,
Vice as well. Recently,
Vice. All these films that take take something historical, and they kind of build a drama around it, and the tools they use to do that though can get it can kind of murky the water sometimes.
I was speaking with friend of the pod, Merv, today. Actually, we watched another film, and we were talking about this versus Vice, versus Vice, and how they both sort of bullshitted a bit. But does anyone really care that there was some inaccuracies about Queen Anne 300-something years ago?
Well, I guess you don't care at the end of the day if the film is entertaining enough or funny enough or But I would say this film isn't funny enough. It's not. It doesn't quite come under comedy for me. What do you think? Is it a comedy?
Oh, there are funny moments, but I wouldn't necessarily class it. I wouldn't go, oh, yeah, let's sit down for a laugh, everyone.
60-40 drama
And
comedy.
I'd also make the argument it's not accurate enough to be a true historical drama.
Well, but none of them are.
I don't think
none
it
of those
tried to
period
be.
dramas are.
I don't think it set out to be a historically accurate drama. I think what it set out to do, in my opinion, was to highlight that women weren't necessarily invisible pawns that didn't think for themselves or didn't have any kind of political credibility or power. I think it
Are you saying that you think this is an empowering film for women?
I think I wouldn't say it's empowering for women because it's set in history, so it's not sort of saying, hey, girls, get out there and do what Queen Anne did or do what Abigail did or something. But I think it's nice to look back at historical figures and say, hang on, some of these women did matter and history's forgotten them because history was written by men.
I was picking up on a subtext with this film, which is kind of like, these women are all crazy. They're power-hungry, just
Not
crazy
necessarily.
people. This is what happens when you put women in power, and this is why men should be.
But so
be
were the
running
men.
things.
Yeah, the men were.
So were the men
Well,
with
but
their
the men
duck
in-
races and the scene at the
Yeah, but the men in this film
end with the
But it looks like the
fruit.
men in this film are more legitimately concerned about world events, at least. They're more concerned about
but
about
Churchill-
the outcomes of the war and...
But she was pulling strings on behalf of her husband to become, a war hero as well. She knew what was going on. She was quite. She had agency, as they
And I
say.
think
I don't
Queen
think
Anne's-
the film really dug deep enough into
Yeah,
that.
I disagree. I think because Queen Anne, you could see her struggle was listening to her confidant and best friend and lover,
Possible.
possibly, and trying to weigh that up with her actual concern for the people, because she would say at different times, well, what are the people saying? And everyone was trying to keep that information from her, and she feigned an episode in order to not disappoint her people, her constituents.
that was a nice
she was
scene.
concerned.
That was one of the parts I did actually laugh.
Yeah,
when she
it was quite
faked
funny.
that falling over thing. But I don't know. I think they sort of brushed over a little bit the 17 miscarriages or losing the 17 children. I felt it was brushed over.
It's not brushed over. There's
It
17
didn't
fucking
play
rabbits
out.
lying around.
I
They're
felt
always
like
there,
it
dude.
Didn't know, but it
kept
didn't.
coming back. I
come
felt
on.
like the whole film was about her emotional instability due to 17 miscarriages. I actually feel like that was the motif that came back again and again and again. To say it was brushed over, I just don't agree with.
Oh, maybe I'm being harsh there then. But that was just my feeling of it. And I found myself thinking, it would be interesting to see how a female director would have done this differently.
But the one of the writers, I can't remember her name, Deborah
Davis.
Thank you, Deborah Davis. She's had this script ready for about 20 years.
This is her own. This is her only credit.
Yeah, well, she says she's been trying to get it made, and she couldn't have made it 20 or so years ago. So now it's
and I was interested because I looked up the other guy because I was curious about the writing and where it came from because something it just felt flat for me, and I was is it
really.
one of my,
Okay, I thought
Tony
it was part of the best.
McNamara, his main credits are Australian TV credits.
He also wrote and directed The Rage in Placid Lake with Ben Lee, that singer. That's a good film. I like that.
I do remember that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was very good writing. You didn't think so?
Just adding a few
Really?
cunts in there doesn't make it good writing, Shady. It
Come on,
just
man.
didn't.
I must say I giggled every time I heard that word.
Yeah, see, I just felt like they were trying to impress through vulgarity.
Just take them out. What about all the good lines, the dialogue? Not necessarily just the dialogue.
It was like
either.
there was a lot of quips.
Yeah, sure.
That was the kind of.
Yeah.
But in terms of the story, it all comes down to where it ends up, and how did you feel about where it ended up?
That was a good ending. I had to think about it. We're spoiling this anyway. Why the rabbits at the end again? but clearly they've realised, both of them, that they're in this horrible relationship now, and they kind of the Queen regrets getting rid of Sarah for this, scheming bitch that she's now got in her hands. So she's going to make her do what she wants.
Oh, I'm still
no, and
I'm still lost a little bit.
Really?
I think.
And the rabbits is the rabbits are the children. She's always coming back to the lost kids and her desperation and her sadness.
I feel like the loss of those children, I felt like that was what the film was about. I feel like her slight madness, her lack of confidence, all kind of stemmed back to this. She goes berserk at those children playing musical instruments.
Yeah.
Like, it just keeps happening again and again and again.
I felt it was partly about that, but it was also partly about this weird kind of love triangle going on, and that's what kind of the film rode on, was this, very, very shocking but
this is what
humorous love triangle that, and who would have thought they would have been lesbians back then? I was trading on that.
Which actually probably wasn't the case.
Although, if you look back historically, it doesn't look that way, really.
When I left the cinema, I said to Merv, how can Olivia Colman be up for a Best Actress award? And she won a Golden Globe, I think, as a Best Actress, not supporting. Because straight after watching it, I thought Stone and Vice are the best leads. They're the best support. So they're the best actresses in it, and the Queen is a support.
Yeah.
And I was thinking just mainly of screen time. But that was a stupid move, because she's actually the fulcrum of that movie.
Of course.
She's the guts of the whole thing.
And that's the thing, I had no problem with the performances of any of the actors. I thought it was good. I feel
like Sarah and Abigail are the same character.
Hello.
Essentially. And they're not literally the same person, but they're playing the same role, more or less.
Right, fighting for her favour.
They're just at different points in their own timeline.
Wow. Oh, Christ.
Well, that's interesting.
Whereas the Queen is a completely different...
She's on a different plane.
I feel like Emma could have played Sarah and vice versa.
Oh.
Because they're both scheming. They're both capitalising on power. They're both capitalising on belittling the men who think they're powerful around them. It's the same... They went to the same acting school in that one. They're not that...
The only difference probably is that Sarah had a history with Queen Anne when they were growing up, and they've been mates for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's out with the old, in with the new, but it's the same. She wants the same function, basically.
Yeah, they wanted to hold on to power. That's what it was about, really.
Do you think that... how do you think it was handled in the movie, that change in the power structure? Did you find that a bit sudden, where Abigail suddenly became on top?
The poisoning thing.
That felt a little bit...
You're talking about
sudden? No, just her ascent sort of started a little bit more gradually. Then it was a very sudden change,
I suppose. And leading up to her deciding to poison her tea. Yeah, I suppose it was. Yeah. They're not going to...
It's a pacing thing, where I thought maybe the pacing was a little bit...
Oh, really?
I'm being quite critical.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that didn't affect me in any way. No, that was fine. Yeah. The things like... The two things that do stand out in that film that have been tailored and pissed with a bit, the lesbianism and the poisoning. Everything else is kind of roughly accurate.
Oh, yeah, like that hip-hop dancing was... totally accurate, right?
What was that? Did I miss something?
The dance scene.
The dance scene.
Oh,
in the court,
is a bit out there.
I've heard that actually used to happen.
There were some moves in there, man. There were some weird moves in there.
They didn't have video back then, man.
We will never know. It's true.
Women didn't even show their ankles, let alone let a man pick them up around the waist and spin them round themselves.
I'm sure they were doing some hippy-hoppy sort of moves and stuff.
Do you know, wasn't something like this in Marie Antoinette, the Sofia Coppola film?
Oh, maybe.
That kind of dancing crap, and in that film, I thought, oh, please, just stop it. It's ridiculous. In this one, I was happy with it.
And just the use of the language, it's an obvious, current day template that they're placing on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be more interested to know how they actually spoke, and I don't know if we do. I don't think they use the C word quite that much, though.
Well, but there was a
if
street.
It even was in existence
yeah,
at all,
man,
was
there
it?
was a street in London called Grope Cunt Lane.
Well, that suggests that
True.
maybe it was a slightly different
usage.
It was used in a slightly different way. If it was that
business,
maybe it wasn't as vulgar an insult.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. No, I thought it was good. I thought Nicholas Hoult played the was he Lord Harley? Is that his name? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He played him very well. I thought he's about a boy.
Yep.
It's come a long way. And he was also in that film. Rachel Weisz was in there as a sort of mother figure to him. So
I was going to ask you as well about the music. I know you didn't quite warm to the music, did you?
Did you read something about this that I?
I did. I read your blog this week.
That's incredible. You
Yeah.
read it.
Normally I'd steer away from it, but I had to know.
Before the film or after? I hope you'd waited.
Yeah, after the film.
Good man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I beep boom beep boom.
That was pretty
beep,
intense.
boom,
Where did that
beep,
come from?
boom.
I couldn't find the composer.
I don't know. It's Baroque or something. I did a little search, but
It is an actual traditional piece, that one, because
I think so.
it sounded very modern.
Oh, you think?
It sounded almost like Stockhausen or something.
I just thought, for me, I thought it was a musical rendition of a clock ticking or a heartbeat.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like, to me, it was just atmospheric.
Well, yeah, so it's contemporary.
But it's using
You're
strings.
saying, yeah.
Contemporary. Oh, what? It's not even a piece of music. It's a soundscape.
Sorry, composer, whoever you are.
Yeah, sorry.
It's
we
not
really
even
rubbed him in it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it was two notes played over and over and over again.
But it was at the end of some other bit of music, I think, because I didn't. This is
No,
what.
but that was a repeating. It was a
It
repeating
kept coming
phrase,
back. That's
yeah.
why I felt
Okay,
like it was
okay.
it's when you listen to a clock and sometimes you can convince yourself that you can hear the tick versus the tock.
What?
Have you never done that? Like you go, yeah, one sounds like a tick and one sounds like a tock.
Yeah, that's true. They all do, don't they? All clocks do
But I
that.
felt like that was like it had like the string and then it had another sound and that was like the tick versus the tock. It was a clock for me.
Like, I'm completely non-musical, but isn't another string a different sound anyway?
I'm
I'm
actually
looking at you,
confused.
Muso.
I'm confused as to what you're both arguing about.
They're both different
Yeah.
notes, aren't they? Isn't that a different string? I don't fucking know. What is
Yeah,
it?
they were
the
different
way
sounds.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I feel like one was a violin, one was some sort of percussion or
Yeah.
a piano. There was a piano at least at one point. There was a piano
Yeah, they
going
were different
ding,
instruments.
and then
Okay.
there was a violin going dong, ding, dong.
Okay, but for me, I thought that was just the end of the scene, and they just let it run with the scene.
No,
And
but it came back afterwards.
Did it? Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least
It
twice.
appeared
At
a
least
couple
twice.
of times. Yeah.
Okay, but not the same piece of music before it.
No, I don't think
Well,
so.
so if I don't notice that, I just get an idea. Oh, the music was good. That's
I think
fine.
it's good.
But I
Yeah, and I
noticed
think
it.
that's good. And that's when you notice music in films, sometimes you're more likely to say, well, that's not doing its job.
Yeah, but for me, that was the only misstep. Really, I thought it was a great
In the
film.
whole film,
In the
yeah.
whole film, I really liked it. I'm quite surprised that you two didn't.
I think you liked the floral language
Yeah.
and the fact that it was British.
Oh, yes. Directed by a Greek man, I suppose. Yeah, I guess.
I liked a lot of things about it. I don't want to give the impression that I didn't like it at all. I think what I struggled with was at different points, it did come to mind, the old Baz Luhrmann redoing of Romeo and Juliet.
That is not a compliment.
Oh, calm down.
I know. Moulin Rouge redone. Are we ready for that one? It felt, even though it was
quite brazen,
it was a bit
sometimes.
quirkier and cooler than that, but it's still like that entered my brain.
I'm missing something because I hated Moulin Rouge. It's probably Maybe since I saw The Room, it's now bumped down to second, but it's probably the third worst film.
Yeah, I'm
I've
not
ever
saying
seen.
that as a compliment. I'm saying that was my struggle with it. That it felt a little bit
That's
where
what I mean.
they've taken a period
What have I-
styled thing.
What am I missing? I
and
hate
Baz Luhrmann it.
I hate Baz Luhrmann's films. I hate the Moulin Rouge.
Well-
I hate that fucking Romeo and Juliet garbage.
But I would say you're probably showing your professionalism as a critic here.
I'm not professional and I'm not a critic.
Because so many, or relative, let's
Okay.
call it relative, because so many critics have had gushings
Oh, yeah.
about this film.
I suppose, yeah.
What have I got? Endlessly entertaining,
Mm.
wickedly funny, the finest film of the year.
Yeah,
It's
I'm not
1
so
month
sure.
old.
No,
They're talking about
well,
last
this
year.
is what they're saying already. And I just think if they were being honest, they'd be more confused by this film because it's a confusing film.
Is it?
Be honest.
It's not confusing. What's confusing about it?
I was confused at the
The
end.
ending.
The ending, they both realise they're trapped in this relationship that they've got themselves into. And
Did
yeah. She's rubbing her legs, as it were.
Is she?
No, she's
You don't even know what she's doing.
You don't know.
Well, isn't that good to make up your own mind? Come on,
Maybe,
man.
but it's confusing.
It's
It's like
confusing.
if that's the thing. If critics were saying, "I'm confused by this film, but I think it's amazing," then I'd trust them more instead of just gushing about it as if it's the most amazing thing they've ever seen with no other explanation.
You think critics
I'm
of
very suspicious. of it.
you think critics on newspapers and whatever like to be confused by movies?
I think they're pretending not to be confused by it,
By what?
and acting like it's an
the-
amazing film because not everyone understands it, and they're pretending that they do as critics.
I didn't understand the rabbits at the end.
The rabbits
I
floating over the
thought
screen.
I thought the rabbits were somehow supposed to explain what was happening with their shift in dynamic, the relationship between the two women.
I just,
but I couldn't get it to make sense in
Well,
my head.
I just read that as that's the thing that this whole film revolves around. All her losses and the fact that she's trying to find a pseudo child, I suppose.
Okay. So from your point of view, then, someone that doesn't have that conclusion at the end,
Yeah.
have they just not understood the film
No,
correctly?
no. They've got a different opinion on how the film ends. Don't go fishing. No, that's just...
Okay.
The only thing that I was confused about is, was she actually rubbing the legs, air quotes here, or the lady parts?
Yeah. Well, and is that really what we need to be questioning at the end of this film? Is that what makes, what's
Well,
the
yes,
important, why is
because
this film important?
If she is giving her a little tickle, before she was full of enjoyment, her face showed it. At the end of both of their faces were pure misery, and look at what we're going to have to do for the rest of our lives, or the rest of one of our lives, I suppose.
It's fairly bleak then.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't mind bleak. If you accuse me of being a bleak lover,
A bleakest.
a bleakest. I don't mind that. Then I'll be all right. Do you think? Okay, just tangentially, you think Coen Brothers films are confusing in general?
I would say they're not easy to understand in one viewing all the time, and that's one of the things I like about them in general.
Okay, but you found this one irritating because it was confusing.
No, I found this one... I wouldn't even say I found it irritating. There were things I enjoyed about it. My comment about that was more about critics that have nothing to say about the confusing aspects of it, or the slightly off tilt aspects of the hip hop dancing and things.
Yeah,
and the language in a
only
period drama. That
But
just
I've-
ignore all that and say what an amazing film because of the performances and the lighting and maybe
Sure.
the script. I don't think it's that cutting edge.
You've read more reviews than I have. I think I read one, Peter Bradshaw in The Guardian, and he mentioned the punk aesthetic to it. Mm-hmm. Don't think he mentioned the confusion, but he's a pretty clever old geezer.
Well, he would consider himself pretty clever too, I'm sure.
He is pretty clever, I think. I've read a bit of his stuff.
You want to watch out for those people.
Those clever people.
Yeah, well, no, the ones that consider themselves clever.
Well, that's what Pol Pot was worried about, wasn't he?
Oh!
What? Well, hey, listen, that's made like 52 million at the box office. For an independent film, that's pretty good. And it'll probably rake up a few Oscars.
I think there's a conspiracy going on.
I think it was a good film. It just might not have been entirely to my taste.
Yeah.
I'm only joking. I loved it. No, not really.
This whole thing has been a farce.
There were 2 points that that almost felt like omissions, but I can understand you can't cover everything, where she's had 17 miscarriages. Well, not necessarily miscarriages. She's lost 17 children, I should say. So she's clearly having relationships with King, was it William?
George? I want to say George. Yeah.
Edward.
They don't really go into
but
that.
He doesn't exist in the film. He is not mentioned.
He's dead in the film.
I know, but he's not mentioned at all. Like, you don't know how long she's lived on her own. You don't, like, it's not mentioned at all. The loss of her children is mentioned.
Yeah.
But it's like if I didn't know anything about English history, like, I might have thought she was a virgin queen, like Queen Elizabeth, except for the fact of these babies.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of glossed over.
Also, 17, that's, one a year until she's from the age of, say, 15, I suppose. Until that's a lot. It's a lot. Huge strike rate. But yeah, he died, I think, 1690. Something, okay.
16?
So I'm curious.
90-something, I think, yeah. But she became queen in 1702, I think.
Yeah, okay.
And I think the relationship between her and Churchill, that seemed like, I felt like some context of how long hubby had been dead might have helped explain that a little bit. But
that means we get flashbacks, and I don't know if that would have looked good.
And the only other thing was, I thought it was an interesting choice, obviously an intentional one, that you could tell by her physical performance, she'd clearly had a stroke. She had palsy, paralysis, on one side, but it was never covered at all.
Well,
I don't mind that.
Would
we
they
just
have had
assumed
all that?
Oh, it was a
detail
choice,
then, though?
obviously. Well, you think the royal doctor might not have turned up and gone, "Oh, gee whiz, she can't move the left side of her body."
No, but
crikey!
But they were using plants on their legs
that,
for gout. So
did they know that a stroke was a particular?
No, but
thing?
it wasn't. No one even mentioned that she couldn't move half of her body.
Unnecessary. At that point, they didn't need to. They didn't need to. You assumed it. You saw that she was acting like that.
But I was confused by it. I was confused by it. I was like, and it was when she first, her face started to look lopsided, and it wasn't. It was almost right at the end of the scene. Like, I was wondering, and then when she clearly cannot move her arm or her leg, that's when I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
I think there was a passage of time between the Queen as a regular Queen to when she looked like she'd had a stroke. I think there was a gap, a time gap there. That's why I thought, oh, yeah, some things have happened and she's gone.
She's deteriorated.
She's going downhill. Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah, oh, well, that was fun. Shall we wrap it up?
I think we better.
Thanks, Bryony.
No.
Cheers.
Thank you, Shady.
Thank you, Roly. See you again.
These nighttime ones, they're fun.
They keep going. You're on the booze, that's why.
No, I'm not.
Aren't you? What was that smell?
No, that's water.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Sometimes it is hard to remember whether you have loaded the pellet or not.
I must take control of my circumstance.
I'm on my side.
Always.